to give you guys a chance to kind of come into the conversation because we got something real interesting to talk about today. Today, I get the distinguished opportunity to speak to Mr. Sean Harris and his son, Caden. Now these young bosses, you see, or both of these guys are young, but the son is obviously younger than the father. But these gentlemen are entrepreneurs. They created a company together. The company is called Daddy Did You Know Incorporated. And before I get started, I want to welcome Sean and Caden to the Dr. Boyce channel. How you doing today, brothers?
Hey, Dr. Boyce, how you doing?
Doing very well, very well, very well. What's up, Caden? My man. Yeah, well, let me tell everybody this. I want you guys to know how I met these two extraordinary gentlemen. I was actually at the Black Wealth Weekend hosted by Mr. Jay Morrison, and someone passed the microphone to a little child, and I said, okay, he's either a kid or he's a very short man. I'm not sure which one. And I heard him do his elevator pitch, and his elevator pitch was extraordinary. It was very, very good. He basically explained his business, which is called Daddy Did You Know, and I was really impressed by it. And so I asked him to come into the podcast because I'd love to find out, what this family's doing in terms of developing entrepreneurship in their household, etc. So let me ask you this, Mr. Harris, just as a starting point.
Yes.
First of all, tell me about Daddy Did You Know and what it's all about, or unless you would like Caden to do his elevator pitch.
Okay, I'll let Caden start off.
Go ahead, brother.
Hello, my name is Caden. I'm 8 years old and I'm the CEO of the company Daddy Did You Know. My business will solve the problem to financial literacy through my YouTube tutorials and flashcards. My business is different from others because it's forward kit, buyer kit with my unique touch. My brand includes science, engineering, and finance. To learn more, please visit my website, daddydidyouknow.com, or my YouTube, Daddy Did You Know.
Wow, I love that. First of all, that was excellent. That was excellent. And what I like about that is I like the fact that the elevator pitch. It's really something that you would teach in a business school. Like, it's something that most adults do not know how to do, and it hit all the right chords. It was he started off mentioning his name, the name of his company, who he serves, what the uniqueness, the unique selling proposition of the company, meaning like why you should buy my product, where people can go to buy it more. It was literally I pay attention to these kinds of things, right?
Gotcha.
I look for certain things in an elevator pitch, and a lot of people don't even know what an elevator pitch is. And I said, here's this child. I thought Caden was 7, but he's 8. Same thing, but I was really impressed by that. And so that leads, when I hear a child that's that ready at that age, first thing I do is I say, okay, where are his parents? What do the parents do? So, Mr. Harris, let me ask you this. Given that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, where in your family and in your background does this entrepreneurial spirit come from that I see when came?
Gotcha. Actually, many moons ago, back during what's called the Chitlin Circuit back here in the Auburn Avenue district, my great uncle actually owned one of the first African-American owned hotels. And so that was the inception of business development in my family as far as entrepreneurial spirit. And then both my parents owned their own companies growing up. I watched my dad work for 2 of the big copier companies in the country. And in the evenings, when he come home from work, he'd leave again to go out to service clients. So he was burning the candle at both ends. And ultimately, he was able to blow one end out and let go corporate America, which time he started his own company. And I think the last time I remember Dad working for a company, I was in high school. And I'm 46 now. And they've subsequently started the company since. And he's been retired now for probably 15 to 18 years now. He and my mom, so they moved down, live close to the beach, walking distance from the beach. So I got my entrepreneurial mindset from then. And I remember when I was like in the 10th or 11th grade, mom and dad give you the proverbial talk about, son, you have 3 choices. Either you go to school, get a job, or go to the military. And I didn't want to go to school anymore at that time. And I didn't want to go to a job to be told what to do. So I went to the Air Force, and they still kind of told me what to do. But that gave me an opportunity to get out, start learning some things about the world. And I recognized then, I was like, punching a time clock just wasn't going to be for me. So I got into law enforcement for a little while just to kind of fulfill a childhood fantasy. And while I was at the sheriff's department, I was starting my own companies in real estate. So I started one company in real estate, and I started a subsequent company, and then just started building from there. So, just like with Caden and his sister Kennedy, we teach them to go to school. Instead of go to school, get good grades, go get a job, we teach them go to school, get pretty good grades, and go build a business system. And, we teach them about finances around the house and everything like that. So that was the beginning and the lineage, if you will, of the entrepreneurial mindset in the family.
Wow, I like that. So, and by the way, everybody, I'm talking to Caden Harris and his father, Sean, and their company is Daddy Did You Know, and it's at daddydidyouknow.com. And we're talking about entrepreneurship in children and what Caden and his father have been doing to establish an entrepreneurial culture in the family. What I like about what you said, Sean, is that, it sounds to me like you fostered a culture that's different from what a lot of us grew up in. A lot of us had a laborer culture growing up. A lot of us had a culture in the household where the whole conversation about money was get a job, get a job, get a job. And you seem to have an environment in your household that's telling your kids, create a job, create a job, create a job, right? It sounds like it still fits with, go to school, make good grades and everything else. But the question is, once you've gained all this knowledge, which path do you take? And I love the idea that you push them in a direction that's going to be more liberating for them, to give them options. Because it's very easy for an entrepreneur to figure out how to be an employee. It's hard for an employee to figure out how to be an entrepreneur.
Exactly.
Now, let me ask you this, Mr. Harris. Are you an entrepreneur yourself?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I own a couple real estate companies. I'm a speaker and an author, and we own a few other companies as well.
Okay. And, as you're going through your journey and you are, learning, because I don't know about you, but I know the whole time I've been an entrepreneur, every year I'm learning something new. I'm getting a little bit better at my craft, stuff like that. What's it like kind of bringing the children into what you're doing? Does that play any part in shaping the entrepreneurial mindset? Like, do you bring your son or your daughter? You have a daughter too as well, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Do you bring your children to meetings and things like that? Or how do you kind of foster that as well in terms of what they actually see as kids?
Yeah, around the house we play Monopoly. That's one of the biggest, the first financial game that we learn if we're paying attention as kids. So we teach them the 4 greenhouses, 1 red hotel ideology as far as real estate and how that's create wealth. We interact with them. They have artificial money. So they pay bills around the house as far as food, getting picked up from the school bus, just to keep their keep. And this helps them to understand the mechanics of money. To be able to, when we go to the store, I let him use, they actually use their own money out of their account, show them how to get change back. And also he likes to pay attention when I use my debit card or my credit card. He tries to get the number, so I have to kind of cover that. But, we just kind of teach them just everyday life, because I believe if you treat a kid like a kid, they'll have the mindset of a kid. But if you treat a kid like an adult, they'll have the mindset of adult while still being a kid. So they can just kind of transition into adulthood with knowledge, and they won't be naive to life. And, he and his sister has her own company as well. She's 8 years old. He just turned 8 a couple of days ago. So he was 7 when you met him.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought he was 7, but he said 8. I said, well, I guess it must be my 47-year-old memory failing me again.
Yeah, he's been working on trying to remember 8. He's been saying 7, kind of slipping back and forth. But he just turned 8 on the 23rd.
Very nice. So Caden, let me ask you, Caden. Since you became a business owner, what are some of the things that you learned from working with your parents and doing running your company? What have you learned anything in the last couple of years?
You need to be responsible.
Responsible, okay.
What else?
I've learned about money and how it works.
Okay, good. All right.
Can you explain to them what your 20-year goal is, so you can explain how you understand money and business?
And before I turned 20, I would have owned a multi-family unit.
All right. Very nice. Well, how many of y'all watching on a multifamily unit? Everybody who owns a multifamily unit, raise your hand. I might see one hand go up. It won't be mine. It won't be mine. I own a one family, not a multi. I love that. Okay, so be responsible. How to manage money, and by 20 you want to own a multifamily unit. So I love that. So you got goals, and you know the importance of being responsible and also making your money work for you. So, and by the way, the love that you're getting right now, I'm looking on Instagram. People just love what you're doing. What's that been like for both of you? Mr. Harris. As you go around the country and people see, what you're doing with your son. I mean, do you see any sort of like what reactions are you seeing from people that interact with you and your children?
Gotcha. They think it's a great idea, of course. A lot of people are amazed to see, just like how you said, how you gave a phenomenal elevator pitch at 7. And I remember when I was 7, man, I was playing with Tonka trucks and Legos. So just to see him being able to articulate what he's doing in business, it's a great feeling just to be able to have, both the apples not falling far from the tree at all. And knowing that, they have the trajectory of their future, it looks bright because they already have the strategy. I teach them, just like Dr. Claude Anderson book talked about having, I heard you say it before too, you have to have systems, leverage, and strategies. So I teach them how to leverage their time and their money through the business system, teach them how to franchise yourself or how to duplicate yourself. And he sees me do that through my company as far as having contractors, where I would earn a certain amount for a contract, but then I would pay a small percentage to the contractor, and then I keep the bulk of the money, which is the immediate gross profit. So I teach them things like that. We take them both to conferences, as the one you met them at with Jay Morrison, and it's just always important to get them. Like our parents always taught us, it's important who you associate with, but it's equally, if not more important, to pay attention of people you need to disassociate with. So, Caden growing up, we always tell him he had like 2 little left feet when it comes to sports. He loved to play sports, but he understands that's not his forte, if you will. So I told him one day, I said, Caden, you know what? Never worry about playing on the team. You'll own the team. So that's the kind of mind frame that we give him, have ownership and not to be a slave to another system, so that you can create your own family economic system and creating family banks. So that's what we're teaching them, is to be able to create family banks to where when they need to pull money to further their endeavors in business, they can just pull it from the family bank.
Well, I like that a lot. I mean, let's be real. I mean, we ain't never going to run out of 8-year-old black male football players and basketball players. We kind of covered that pretty well. And I think that if we could just have just as many 8-year-old black male entrepreneurs, because I mean this is really important, like what you're doing with your son, because you and I know you and your son watch a lot of my podcasts. So that, like you mentioned, that your son watches me every day, and I had to apologize for all the cussing. My daddy cussed in front of me when I was 8, and it didn't mess me up too bad.
Right.
But I think boys need to hear the real. They need to hear the real deal about what life is about. This ain't about sheltering and patty caking with these young men. We got to get them ready for the battle that's in front of them. And what I really see when I look at, the way you're raising your children, and I'm looking at your son now, and one day feel free to bring your daughter in as well. I see, I'm reminded actually of what Donald Trump, believe it or not, does with his children. Donald Trump has a son, I think it's about 11, named Barron.
Right.
And he named him Barron, like Barron is royalty. Barron is like, you're going to be a king. And he might be an evil king, depending on how you feel about Trump, but he's going to be a king nonetheless. And you prepare that, you groom that in children. Barron will never be taught how to go work for somebody else. He ain't never going to be taught to go begging nobody for opportunities. He's going to be taught to do big things at an early age. He's going to be thinking, by the time I'm 20, 25, I want to own multifamily units. I want to invest in the stock market. I want to have employees. And so what I really see is I see like in the art of war, we talked about this as a Jay Morris thing, and like in the art of war, you know, Sun Tzu says that battles are won before they begin. So there's a battle happening. There's a collision that's going to occur where, you know, the Caden Harrises of the world, where, you know, 30 years from now will be confronting the Barron Trumps of the world. Right. And if we don't prepare Caden 20, 30 years in advance by giving him the know-how and the capital and everything we can give him to arm him, then what's going to happen is Barron Trump's going to come in at this level. Caden comes in at that level. And guess what? Caden is on his knees begging Barron Trump for a job, and he's looking down on him and spitting in his face. Right. So what I like about what you're doing with your son is you're preparing him to go eye to eye, toe to toe, and to really be his own man, which I think is going to be really important, you know, when he gets in his 20s and 30s and 40s. And you know, there ain't nothing worse than just being emasculated and humiliated every day as a black man. That's what drives me crazy, gives us high blood pressure, you know what I mean? Makes us want to just, you know, do all kinds of crazy stuff, but it's all about preparation. So let me ask you this. I didn't mean to go off. I want to hear from you. I didn't mean to talk. Forgive me for that. But tell me, you know, in terms of, you know, your advice to other parents, you know, they have kids at home. Maybe the kids are, you know, have a lot of energy. They don't know what to do with them. The kids maybe are in football, doing other things. How do you suggest they begin the process of maybe introducing their children to these things that they're going to need to know in adulthood that will help them to survive?
Right. I think the first thing is to pull them away from the TV a little bit, pull them back from so much of the technology and games and so forth, and get them back into just understand who the kid is. I remember when I was growing up, we used to get an allowance for doing our chores. Then one day, Dad just came to us and said, "You know what? You guys are supposed to be doing chores anyway. So you got to figure out a way how you're going to make more money getting your allowance." So what he incorporated was we had to start writing an essay every week. So this gave our parents an opportunity to be able to know who we were. I was a middle kid, so I always wrote either that my brother was picking on me, my older brother, or my younger sister was getting treated with royalty. So I always had something to write about. And so that developed my love for reading. And I found that through reading, you go anywhere in the world, you can find out anything you need to know. You know, so many times we think that we have to spend all this money going to colleges and universities to get the education. So what I recommend to parents out there is just to start your kids reading, have them writing. I heard you say many times before where, you know, as long as your kid can read, write, know Black history, start a business. Once you understand those tenets, you can't be stopped. You know, find out what the kid is focused on. You don't so much be emphasizing on sports, going out, getting their heads banged on the football field, because one in I don't know how many actually make it to the NFL. And then when they make it there, you still pimped to a degree through the NFL. So, you know, I teach them, like you said, I'm straight up with them. I tell them, look, we're not going to go the route of being corporate prostituted. You know, you need to be the business owner where you get to call the shots. So for the parents out there, it's just, you know, get them reading, getting them around winners. You got to get them around adult events, get them around business development. You know, on any given Saturday, him and his sister, like this Saturday, for an example, here in Atlanta, they both have an event where they're going to be creating income. And on any given day, you know, they can make more money than the average adult on a given weekend. Like, for an example, we went to an event and Caden sold some of his financial flashcards. And about a week later, a lady from a big lending company actually approached us. So we collaborated to deal with that. He's actually a commentator, if you will, on the lending show that comes on here in Atlanta every Saturday morning. So he's a commentator on that show. We just filmed again today for a couple more episodes. So he aired for the second time this past weekend. And we're also working out some collaboration with Jay Morrison Academy as well. So I'm always telling people that you got to put your kids around the heat. You got to put them in an environment to win. If you put them in an environment to lose, that's the results you're going to get. You're going to get losing results. So you got to, you know, kind of thrust them out there. You know, he's in a Toastmaster class as far as him and sister, as far as being able to speak, because with a powerful mouthpiece, you'll be able to write your own ticket. Mm-hmm. So that's some of the things I recommend to parents, you know, just get away from the sports and the microphones. You know, that's not the only way our Black men and our Black women can make money. We got to learn how to use our brain, because I always teach people when I'm doing my speaking engagements, from the neck down is a $7.50 per hour income producing machine. From the neck up is a unlimited income producing asset. And we have to ask ourselves, which one do we feed the most? You know, we put food, regular junk food in here, but how often do we feed this with books and education, experiences, and exposure to different things? It's one thing. Caden, he did a TV show, his Daddy Did You Know TV program. He talked about exposure. You know, just being exposed to different things. You know, we go out of the country. Him and his sister, I think they got more stamps in their passport than most adults, because we get them around that environment. You know, it's like, why not take them to Egypt so they can see the pyramids firsthand, see some of the cool things that they'll learn in their history books, so they can see it firsthand. So I think that's some of the important things that parents need to do, is just kind of change the mindset of how we raise our kids, you know, and not just do what mom taught us, what grandma taught us, just because it was tradition. You know, it's kind of like that old story where the girl saw her mom in the kitchen cutting the butt end of the ham off and throwing it away. And she said, well, Mom, why do you do that? She said, I don't know. Go ask your grandma. And so the little girl walked in the living room. She said, Grandma, Mom's in the kitchen. She's cooking a ham. She cut the butt end of the ham off and she threw it away. She told me to come and ask you. And she said, why do you do that, Grandma? She said, well, child, so the thing will fit in the doggone pot. So all this time, people throw the piece of the ham out and never knew why they were throwing it out. So I think it's just important. We got to get these kids a different mindset, seeing things differently.
Wow, well, I love that. I love that. Everybody who's watching, if you just came in, I'm speaking to Caden Harris and his father Sean. Caden is the CEO of Daddy Did You Know? DaddyDidYouKnow.com is the website where they sell all kinds of products. In fact, I pulled up the website just now, and I was really looking at it. I'm gonna share the screen so everybody on YouTube can see it. And everybody who's not on YouTube, if you go to drboycetv.com, you can actually see this. That's drboycetv.com. That's where I go live from. You can see here, I'm looking at this site, and I love the design. I love the layout. Very nice images, very, very high quality pictures, a lot of really great products, you know, so really good monetization model. And it looks like, I mean, I'm guessing, you know, based on just the polish of the brand and everything else, that, you know, that this little man's probably making as much money as a lot of grown-ups, right? I mean, it looks like something. Now, Caden, let me ask you this. So, what's it like making all that money, and can I borrow some? You like having all that money?
Yes.
Really? You know what's funny, Mr. Harris, is that I'll say this. You know, I wasn't an entrepreneur until I got a little older, until I was like in my 30s, but you know, I remember when I had my first kind of entrepreneurial experience. You know, I'd had the worker experience while I worked in a restaurant and I was making my little hourly wage. But then I started a little business in high school. It wasn't even a real business. I was just selling candy, you know, buy low, sell high, just buying it for this price, selling it for that price. Arbitrage, I guess is what they call it. And I was, you know, selling this candy and making this money. And I mean, and I had all these stacks and stacks of cash. And I remember that it was like a little mind-boggling to make money without actually going to work, you know, just serving a product and getting that money, you know, and realizing that the amount of money I made didn't connect to how many hours I worked or how tired I was. It connected to just how many business connections I could make, how many sales I had going. I had affiliates. I had people, you know, that the kids would come up on the bus. They knew I was the candy man. So everybody on the bus would come up and try to get some Skittles from me, some M&Ms. So I started making affiliate deals with them. I tell the little freshman, I say, look, I'll give you this bag of Skittles, but I need you to sell 10 more today and give me the money after school. So they were all go out and work for me, and they were all bringing money to me. And I had money, like I looked like a dope dealer or something because I had so much money. And I think that it seems to me like with your child or both your children, that when they getting out here making all this money so fast, it almost seems like that just it's almost like once you get a chance to be free, you don't want to be a slave no more. You know what I mean? Like you can't go backward. Once you know what it's like to make that big money for little effort, you can't go back to making little money for big effort. What do you think that does to the mindset of your kids in terms of them being able at an early age to literally go places and make more money than most adults that are there?
Yeah, that's one thing. I teach them. Could you tell Dr. Boyce what the two power words are? Tell me your two most important words.
Own and control.
And that's number one thing. We teach them how to create the income, how to allocate the funds properly. When you make money, buddy, what do you do with the money first?
First, you buy more products.
Mm-hmm. And then when we use the envelope, when we put some money in the envelope, what do we go take that?
And then you take the money to the bank.
Mm-hmm. And you fill out a what?
And you fill out a check.
Deposit slip.
A deposit slip.
Mm-hmm. And then we deposit the money, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Now, do we take money out and just spend it and go buy a whole bunch of foolish stuff with it?
No.
So we just let it stay in there so we can create more wealth, right?
Yes.
And we take a little bit out, and then we buy things in our business. So if you need more products, you need more cards, we order more cards, right?
Yes.
And we get it from where? Your bank account?
Yes.
That's right. So that's some of the most important things we teach them is, pay yourself first, pay back into your business, and we want to be able to create that big nest egg so we can create the wealth. So we can pass money down from the next generation, right?
Yes.
And then the next generation, right?
Yes.
All right. So, and that's one of the biggest things, Dr. Boyce. At some point, everybody have to stop and say, I'm going to be that maverick in the family. I'm going to be the one that everyone will definitely remember my name. Because unfortunately, in our communities, a lot of our kids don't know their grandparents' name, let alone the great-grandparents' name. But in a lot of the families, like I said, the Trump family, the Rockefellers, all these big families, the Vanderbilts, they know you can take a kid his age and they can go down the hallway of fame and point at everybody on that wall and say, hey, that's great granddaddy such and such, or this is Uncle Peter. And they can tell you what impact everybody had because it created the lifestyle they live today. But so unfortunate in our community, we can't do that because nobody really left us a financial impact that we're going to remember the name.
Yep. I tell you, I understand that very well. I went to the doctor the other day. Well, it was actually a great visit, so don't you guys worry or anything. But I was really, so I found out I worked down and got my blood pressure down really good and everything else, so it was like a great bill of health. And but I remember when I was in there, the nurse said, what is your family medical history? And I told her all about my mother, but I said I know nothing about my father's medical history. I only know his name was Boyce. I don't know anything about his parents or none of that, And so I think that what you're saying, that piece about legacy, I think is so important, and we got to really embrace that. And there's no better opportunity to have that legacy than through your kids, because, the same way you're working with your son right now, in 20, 25 years, he's going to have a son or daughter that he's going to be doing the same thing with. That's not that long. 20, 25 years is not a long time.
Right.
20 years ago, what was it? 20 years ago, that was 1998. That was not a long time ago. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
So to me, I what I really see is this awesome, in economics, we call that a ripple effect, where you do one thing and then somebody else does something else, or somebody else does something else. So I see a ripple effect that's going to last 10 generations. You're doing things with your children. Their children are going to get a different message because of what you've done. Then their children's children, et cetera. And I think if you have very consistent strategies, this idea, like a lot of us think that a child becoming a millionaire is it's like due to luck, or maybe they'll get to the NFL or NBA, or maybe somehow they'll win the lotto, but it ain't luck. It's just planning. Like your son and your daughter will both either be millionaires or very close to it. We can see that it's very clear, how they've been taught to manage money. They're already making money. If they just take the money they're making and invest it in the stock market, that right there will give them hundreds of thousands of dollars in wealth when they're in their 20s. So the formula is not complicated. It's just a matter of implementing that into the community. And let me share this with everybody, and then I would love for you to get the last word. I was looking as Mr. Harris and his son were speaking, I was looking at, where the bad investments that many of us are making in the community, mainly sports. And I don't know if you noticed, Mr. Harris, but the odds, I looked up the odds of making it to the NBA. For every 10,000 black boys that try to make it to the NBA, for every 10,000 black boys that make it to the NBA, 3 of them actually get there. 3.
Wow.
Now, here's what's interesting. The dark side of that is you got 3 that make it to the NBA and they put them on TV and everybody sees it and everybody wants to do that. But that means there's 9,997 young men in our community, many of whom have invested everything on this magical lottery ticket that that doesn't pay off for almost anybody, you know. And so to me, my thought is, if you're going to overinvest in something that's going to make you a millionaire, why not go the route of entrepreneurship? Because most great basketball players I know never made a penny playing basketball, but most great entrepreneurs I know are multimillionaires. You know, can you kind of speak to some of that, and any parting thoughts from either one of you?
Yeah, what do you want to tell them about your book?
And I have an activity book coming out.
Oh, I like that. Daddy didn't know activity book, engineering, finance, and science. Now, I love the glasses, man. Very, very sharp.
Yeah, the way his business originally started was Daddy, did you know? He would come to me and say, Daddy, did you know? And then he would tell me some information. And I remember one day his acumen increased. He was like, Daddy, do you know what hydrochloro something was? And I was like, yeah, I know what that is. I said, but you tell me though. So he told me it was the absorbent material in diapers. And I was like, let me go Google this and see. So I Googled it when he wasn't looking, of course. And I found out, in fact, he was right. So every day from there, he would just come with me with new information. So that's what started his business, Daddy, did you know, in the tutorials. So the point I wanted to bring home with that is pay attention to the kids and watch their creativity and just see what can culminate. You know, a lot of times we have to throw the mud against the wall and see what sticks sometimes, because so many times we just insist on making our kid a track star. We insist on making them that basketball star, but we can only go so hard for STEM programs. He's into STEM programs at Georgia Tech and Morehouse College. So, you know, you got to go just as hard with the same mentality for education than you do for the sports. Because like you said, Dr. Boyce, the probability of you being wealthy, being a business owner, will far surpass that of being an athlete or an entertainer. And, you know, they can make that big money, but if you don't have the mindset, it's like that study they did a while back where they took millionaires and they took middle-class people, swapped bank accounts. 18 months later, the roles reversed back. So the millionaire got his money back.
Wow.
And the newfound millionaire went back to being a middle class. So
wow, that is and that's very real. That's 100% real. And everybody, I want you all to understand, you know, that what Mr. Harris is saying is he's not saying your child cannot and should not play sports. What he's saying is don't invest everything in sports, you know. And I love it. I love what you're doing with your family, man. I think it's extraordinary. I think that if everybody did the same thing and followed that same blueprint, our whole community would flip to a whole different level within one generation. Everybody, I want you all to know I'm speaking to Mr. Caden Harris, the CEO and founder of Daddy Did You Know Incorporated. Also his father, Sean Harris here. Sean is a real estate expert, motivational speaker, author, and he's doing all kinds of great things. If you want to learn more about what they're doing, you can do a couple of things. You can either go to daddydidyouknow.com, or you can go to the Daddy Did You Know YouTube channel and check out some of their tutorials and all the great products that they have, etc. And also, last but not least, we actually have a business school for children in the Black Business School. So if you want your children to follow in Caden's footsteps, we've got a whole curriculum set up for children. It's at blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. That's blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. And in fact, Mr. Harris, I don't know if you got your son in Black Millionaires of Tomorrow or not, but I'm gonna say right now, you and Caden, you and your children have free tuition. So you know, just hit me up. I want to go through our contact, and I'll give you free access to the program.
Okay.
Proud of what you're doing with your family.
Gotcha. As a matter of fact, they are students. They've been students now for about 4 or 5 months. So we greatly appreciate that offer.
Okay, then we'll give you something else. We'll throw in something else. I want to give you something because I just, you know, you're doing exactly like I was really flattered and honored when you told me that you and your son check out my podcast on a regular basis, because this is what I want for our people. This is what I want for the Black community. I want us competing at the highest levels, and people like yourself and myself, we know, because we know the game at a certain level, we know that it ain't that complicated. It ain't rocket science. What the white boys are doing, it's not magical. The white people don't have superpowers. We do. Right. Right. We're the ones who we're the ones, who went through 400 years of the worst slavery known to man and still came out shining. So to me, I think once we tap into that Black superpower and get our children to do the same, we're gonna just take this everything and just take it to a level that people can't even imagine, because that's what we do. That's what Black people do. So I love you, man. I have a lot of respect for you, brother. And look, Caden, man, I'm still gonna come to you to borrow that money. So just holler at me when you get a chance, and maybe about $100. Can I borrow about $100, $110, something like that?
Interest. Gotta give them interest.
You have to give me interest.
Oh man! Oh man, you're killing me, man! You're killing me. Well, I look forward to seeing you, and I'm very impressed, and we're friends now. So we'll be talking again in the future. And everybody who's watching, I go live. If you want to know where I go live on drboycetv.com. It's drboycetv.com. Make sure you also check out daddydidyouknow.com to check out Caden's products and his whole platform and everything else. And also, last but not least, don't forget that the All Black National Convention is coming up. allblacknationalconvention.com. It's going to be at the end of September. It's in Philadelphia. Bring your children, bring your whole family. We're going to watch great Black movies, have panels on how to buy the block, have panels on how to get your business off the ground, panels on relationships. We're going to have keynotes. Jay Morrison from the Tulsa Fund is coming through. So we're going to really do amazing things. So visit allblacknationalconvention.com to learn more about it. And I'll tell you guys this, there was a young man, you may want to bring your son, brother, because there was a young man who came there. His name, gosh, I can't remember his first name, but Ethan. What was it? I can't remember his last name, but his name was Ethan.
Okay.
Ethan came through and he had a T-shirt line. He was 13 years old, and Ethan set up his T-shirts to sell all his apparel. This kid made $3,000 in an hour.
Wow.
$3,000 in an hour. Yeah, and I was floored. I mean, I knew people made money, but I did not. I mean, I was like, wow, like how did you do that? And the thing was, what was really cool about it was like, okay, this is our space. It's all Black. It's all ours. And you saw people that were doing what you're doing, what I'm doing, my children, what a lot of us are doing, which is like, it's like we're raising our children by a certain code and a certain standard that's going to make sure that 30 years from now, these are not going to be ordinary kids, and that's what I love seeing. It's like it reminds me of what the Mormons did. The Mormons were being persecuted, and they just all packed up their covered wagons and they all went out west looking to settle down at what they called the Great Salt Lake. They were looking for this big Salt Lake, which was Salt Lake City. And when they got there was nothing there. There's no businesses, no nothing. But they set up shop and they just started building and educating each other and learning the land and developing the community. And now Salt Lake City is worth probably $100 billion. What I mean?
Yeah.
That's the type of vision that's required. We can't see what's in front of us now. We got to see the next 100 years. That's how we're going to win. So
absolutely.
So it's wonderful seeing both of you guys again. I wish you the very best. And I'm going to go check out daddydidyouknow.com as well. And everybody, make sure you hit the like button, share button, subscribe button, thumbs up button. Share this video. Tell everybody about what this little brother's doing. Do this with your own kids. Get them ahead. And take care, everybody. It was great to see you guys. And you two gentlemen, have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Dr. Boyce.
All right. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.